So this week's topic of Amuna Mondays was perspective through potential. And before we begin, the class is dedicated to two names. It's for Le'ulei Nishmat for Yosef ben Devora and Gabriel Masao de Batsara. May both their neshamas have the ultimate aliyah. So the topic of perspective through potential. The reason I chose the topic was because we know that at the end of time, it states that Hashem throughout everyone's life is always judging off of potential. And that seems like a very wild claim because the truth is, us as humans, to operate and to view as based on potential, it comes across as foolish. It's like, no, you have to look at a person, accept the person for who they are, not who you think they're going to become based on whatever image that is in your head. But the difference is, when it comes to Hashem, he knows. He already has the full knowledge. He sees the end before it even begins. So he knows the max version of yourself. He knows the best version of yourself. But he also knows every single version in between. So to base it off of potential makes sense. It makes sense because he can see where you're going, where you've been, and where you're holding. And the thing is, there is something to learn about that on our end, us as humans. Like, yeah, you shouldn't date for potential. Yeah, you shouldn't just operate off of potential, and there needs to be a sense of reality in what the person's actually doing and where they're holding. But the truth is, it doesn't really need to be that way. There is still a sense of potential that should be factored in. It's understanding that every single person has a journey. Every single person is not finished. They're not a finished product of anything. I don't care if the person has a Fortune 500 company. I don't care if the person's already married with 5 kids. Their life's not over. That's not who they are. They're not done. They're constantly evolving. They're constantly adapting. And they're constantly growing. And a person that operates with potential for those things and sees, like a friend, a parent, those are like they borderline are coming in with this concept of very deep love. And that comes from a place of acceptance. And there's a sense of them looking at the potential of either you or the other party. And it's so important to have that potential mindset because that's how you build a connection. Nobody wants a person that, oh, they're only going to be friends with me once I've hit the top, once I've made it. But when I was struggling, they forgot about me. It's like, no, be there for the whole journey. A lot of people would rather you be there for the whole journey than just pop in when things are going well. And what is that? That's potential. It's like when the things are not going well, let's say in the friendship, in the relationship, in whatever it is, they're not just walking away and disposing of them. They're simply understanding that it's a process. Right now, this person's struggling. They're going to need a little bit more attention. They're going to need a little bit more love, a little bit more assistance. But at some point, again, they're factoring in the potential aspect of it. At some point, they're going to be good. And I want to be there to reap those rewards when they're good. I want to be there seeing them happy. I want to be there seeing them successful. But that does not happen if you're not there while they're struggling. And that's the thing that people need to understand. It's like, yes, don't operate just off of potential, but there is a very big, valuable lesson from the concept of potential. And yeah, we're not God, and we don't have the full absolute vision of everything that's happening and all that stuff, but we do have the ability to not judge, to live in the moment, but at the same time keep that vision of the future. And I think that's one of the most established friendships that are formed. That's one of the most beautiful connections. It's like when somebody knows that they're not being judged and anything being said and done is coming from a loving place. It's okay. Criticize them. It's fine because they know that they're not getting judged. But how do they know that? It's because they can feel it. That, wow, even when life's going bad or tough or things aren't going the absolute best in my life, this person's still there. So when they say something that might be a controversial or I could potentially take it the wrong way, I wouldn't take it the wrong way, because there's this concept of, I know that they have my best interests in mind, and it's not coming from a judgmental point of view. But the thing is, we live in this generation where people would rather replace than to fix. It's like when things don't go well in the relationship, all right, divorce and just go get a new one. There's a million fish in the sea. Or it's like, oh, the job's not going well. All right, so just get a new one. Like, it's just a very disposable world we live in. And that's just not the way the world was intended. That's not the way that we were operating. Like, we can see that from the concept of Hashem. Hashem loves us through potential, which means even when, let's say, I wake up and I don't pray, God still loves me. Or I mess up and I just decide, you know what, I don't, or life stays taking a toll, I don't want to be religious anymore. God still loves me. He still loves you. It doesn't matter. He's not basing it off of what you're doing and this. No, he's basing you off of your potential. But he also understands the reasonings behind it. We live in this generation where people are not going to ask you why you stopped keeping Shabbat. Why? They're just going to look at you like a person that stopped keeping Shabbat, so you're this type of person, and then immediately attempt to judge, instead of sitting somebody down and just talk to them. Hey, like, I noticed Shabbat was a very big thing for you. What happened? But again, if you're coming in from a point of view of you're calling them out, you're not going to get an answer. The person's going to shut down immediately. But if you're coming from a place that they don't feel judged and you're just simply asking, they're going to start asking themselves the questions that they haven't even asked themselves. It's like, why? Realistically, let's be honest with myself. Why? Why did I kind of tone down this? Why did I tone down that? And you'll see they'll better themselves through it. And that's what a friendship's about. But at the same time, that would never come about if you didn't see their potential. If you weren't factoring in their potential, that would have never came about. It would just be like, okay, this is who the person is. They need to accept me for who I am, and blah, 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 blah. Well, that's not true. It's not true. Sure, you have stages. Sure, you should feel accepted. But at the same time, it's like, if you're not accepting yourself, how can you expect to be accepted? That's just not how it works. And a lot of people don't even accept themselves. The internal battles are insane. And nobody even knows, because nobody sits down and just asks from a non-judgmental place. And where does that come from? That all stems from the fact of just living in the moment, but at the same time, seeing the vision. You have to be able to see that vision. And the vision is the quote-unquote potential. So with that, I hope everyone can understand and, change that perspective and start operating through potential. Factor potential into your perspective, because the truth is that it's got a very healthy place in your perspective. It's not all potential. Don't just throw it all this person is potential. There needs to be a sense of reality as well. But even when things aren't things aren't making the most absolute sense, just still factor in this person's a human. There's growth. What I know this person 5 years ago is not the same person today. So to just hold them to that grudge and hold a grudge on them and hold this is not, and there's beef and there's awkward tension is unnecessary. People grow. But how can you get out of that mindset? It's based them off of their potential. That, wow, this person put in the necessary work. It seems like they've come out a lot stronger, and it doesn't matter where we ended off before, but this is where they are now, and boom, potential. Operating off of potential. So I hope everyone has an amazing week. And again, Le'ulei Nishma for Yosef ben Devorah and Gabrielle Masauda Bat Sarah. Hope the Neshamas have the ultimate aliyah. See you next week.